Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and before we get started on tonight's story, let me tell you about tonight's author, or should I say, tonight's author's YouTube channel. Mike Jesus Langer, or Mike J. Langer, is currently available on YouTube. I've talked about him before, but we all have updated URLs now because YouTube had us do that. Mike always writes within a single universe, so if you guys have caught up on some of the previous things before, know there's more to them. There's sequels, there's series, and there's a lot of lore that follows every monster, creation, or horror that comes out of his channel, and ones that have been here. So if you like tonight's story and want to find out more, head over to youtube.com/MikeJLanger, or you can click the little I in the top, or you can go in the link in the description down below. And now, on to tonight's story. I've always believed in human decency, you know. I've always believed that if an old person is faced with a decision to be kind or cruel, that they would choose the better option. When people spoke about human nature as if anything other than inherently altruistic, I always thought they were just hiding behind cynicism, you know, ensuring they would never get hurt. I've always believed in human decency, but then I started a YouTube channel. The channel wasn't to kickstart an extravagant media career. I mean, hell, it wasn't even meant to be a fun hobby. I just needed a place to easily share videos with extended family. The idea of a stranger stumbling into a snapshot of my life never really occurred to me. But they did. They descended into my life like starving vultures and made me doubt any shred of belief I ever had in human decency. So I posted the first video about 2 years ago. There's this quick 30-second clip of my mother-in-law's birthday party. A couple months prior, her husband of 50 years had passed away, and my wife, she wanted to make sure that her mother wouldn't end up spending her birthday alone. The video was simple but sweet. Half a dozen people gathered around an old lady singing happy birthday as she struggled to blow out the candles. There were 3 comments. The first came from my wife's sister, who was out in Europe on a business trip. B. Clark. Sorry I couldn't make it. Hope you're saving some cake for me. Happy birthday, Mom. The second from my brother, who my wife wasn't keen on inviting to family gatherings. Ray David. Doesn't look a day over 70. Stay classy, Mrs. Clark. And the third, from an account that could only be identified as its blank silhouette picture and nondescript name. Angry Gorilla 78. You people are sick. Look at that woman. She doesn't want to be there. She doesn't want to be alive anymore. I bet you she cries every night, torn between the pain of her frail body and the agony of living without the love of her life. Just let her die already. For a second, I wondered whether the comment wasn't just another one of my brother's strange jokes, but it was, I don't know, it was far too vile for even him to type out. I briefly considered responding, but I didn't let my anger get the better of me. I simply deleted the comment, moved on with my life. I did my best to push the internet stranger's words out of my head, and for the most part I did. Whenever we went to visit the old lonely woman in the nursing home, however, Angry Gorilla's assessment of my mother-in-law and her will to live kept echoing in my skull. When we finally laid her to rest, late winter, the words, they echoed even more. But there was a finality to them. She was gone. Anything this YouTube commenter had to say about her was drowned out by a barrage of heartfelt eulogies. Thought I wouldn't have to worry about the words of another internet stranger ever again. I have a daughter. She's in elementary school. She plays the piano. I have on multiple occasions suggested to my wife that our daughter does not like playing the piano, but she'd hear none of it. My wife's parents never encouraged her to learn an instrument, and she regretted it all her life. She wasn't going to let our daughter miss out on music as well, so every Thursday afternoon for a year and a half, my daughter would be marched into another piano school practice. A couple months ago, she had a recital. It's her first one. On the car ride back home, our daughter made it very clear that she hated playing the piano. My wife tried convincing her otherwise, but I put my foot down and said that if the kid didn't want to learn, then she wouldn't need to learn an instrument. My daughter, being a tiny little diplomat, suggested that she could learn an instrument that wasn't stupid, like, say, a saxophone. At the recital, our daughter performed a rendition of Claire de Lune, while my wife caught it all on camera. The moment we got home, my wife insisted I posted the recording on YouTube so the rest of the family could see the performance. I got our daughter's permission to post the video. I promised to keep it unlisted so only our friends could see it. By the time that we sat down for dinner, the video had already amassed a pile of comments from the family Facebook chat. Possibly in the hopes of changing our daughter's mind in regard to quitting piano lessons, my wife, she read each and every comment out loud over dinner, including the one from my brother's fiancé that suggested our daughter play the song at their wedding. When my wife reached the username BashfulVulture44, however, she went quiet. She read the comment to herself under her breath, and when she finished, immediately pulled me out of the dining room. Whoever BashfulVulture44 was, they were sick. She wanted me to delete the comment immediately. Upon reading the bio myself, I raced to the computer and deleted the message. I was beyond furious, trying to figure out who from the family chat would have gone through such pains to tear my daughter down, but I quickly realized BashfulVulture44 wasn't alone. I mean, the comment section was full of his ilk. Dozens of internet strangers were flooding the comment section with cruel comments about my daughter, my wife, me, even everyone else in the auditorium. I rushed to the comment section, deleting every unfamiliar account I could see. Yet whenever I refreshed the page, there was another barrage of vitriol to sort through. I was so focused on deleting the individual comments, I didn't even notice the replies. Beneath each kind comment from the family, there were replies. The internet strangers replied to my cousins, parents, in-laws with surgical cruelty. The reply chains were littered with horrible accusations and maddening vulgarity that would make one's heart hurt. But the worst fury was reserved for the top comment. Jane Best, 87. What a beautiful piece. Really hope you can play it at mine and Ray's wedding. The first reply had over 200 likes. Voluminous Serpent, 88. Is Ray's secretary coming to the wedding, Jane? Probably not, but everyone knows. The whole office knows, and so does the family. They avoid looking in your eyes for a reason, Jane. They know about the secretary, they know Ray's wives never outlast the honeymoon. How does it feel to be a band-aid on a broken man's scuffed cock? Right beneath that reply was my brother, denying the affair and threatening to physically fight whoever wrote the comment. Beneath his reply was another menagerie of rabid animals, making full assertion about Ray's character and behavior. They spoke at length about his presumed affair. They listed dates and times and locations. The comments were detailed enough to suggest there was an air of truth about them. I stopped deleting individual comments. I deleted the video and then the entire channel. I wiped away any trace of my name from YouTube, but the damage was done. I don't know which members of the family had read the comments, but Ray's fiancé surely did. That made all the difference. Over the next couple of weeks, Ray's wedding plans fell apart. The drama unraveled itself through long phone calls and late-night visits, all set to the squealing of an inexperienced saxophone player. When the dust finally settled, we were all worse for it. The sea of faceless strangers had unearthed family secrets and made any possibility of a reunion a hellish affair. I spent a lot of time thinking about the channel. I tried comprehending what had actually happened. How the single link in a family chat had brought so many strangers into our midst, and how those strangers knew so much about us. I spent many a night trying to make sense of it all, but I resigned from the hopeless task. I moved on with my life, intent on forgetting about the masses of the internet and rebuilding the few bridges that still stood. As my brother's planned wedding date got closer, his condition went from bad to worse. Ray had some problems with the drink when we were growing up, but in his adult life, he had developed the ability to keep a lid on it. Jane breaking off the engagement, that robbed him of that ability. I knew I couldn't get Ray to stop drinking. He was far too hard-headed for that, so to make sure he wouldn't get into a car wreck and to have some semblance of control about how much he drank, I'd invite him over to our house. While my wife and daughter would sleep upstairs, Ray and I would kick back on the porch with a bottle of whiskey and try to make sense of the world. It was the night after his wedding was meant to take place. The night when he got drunker and angrier than he ever did before. That was when I got that email. And I was pretty sauced myself, Chugging down a glass of water in the kitchen to lessen the looming hangover when my phone dinged. An email from YouTube. They were congratulating me on my first 100,000 subscribers. The shift from confusion to bone-chilling terror happened the moment I clicked on the link attached to that email. My channel was back. It was back, and it was bigger than ever. The views of the 2 videos I deleted were well in the hundreds of thousands. But there was a third video which I hadn't posted, titled Ray and Jane's Wedding. The video was just a couple of views shy of 1 million. By the time I was back on the porch, I had ordered my brother an Uber back home. I was far too panicked to explain my sudden need for the departure, and my brother was far too drunk to question it. He put on his coat, had half a cigarette, and then he rode off into the night with a stranger my smartphone had found him. He left me alone with my smartphone. Immediately, I recognized the location of that video. I had seen the pictures at the old manor where Jane had planned the wedding at just about every family gathering leading up to Christmas. The open-faced sandwiches, the wedding cake, the tacky tablecloths, gold-rimmed wine glasses. The whole wedding was exactly as Jane had planned. Except for the guests. The family was there. Ray's blood, Jane's blood, smatterings of work friends. All the guests were there. They were there, but they all looked old and exhausted, and miserable. The whole guest list for the wedding was there, and they were all staring straight into the camera. The video was taking place during the newlyweds' first dance, but even they looked into the lens in abject despair. Both Jane and Ray were shadows of their former selves, yet they still held their shivering bodies against each other in a poor pantomime of a romantic dance. They danced to a broken rendition of Clair de Lune. Behind the piano that was far too big for her, wearing the same dress she wore to her recital back in the happier days, was my daughter. She was weeping. She was playing the instrument she hated so much and weeping and staring into the camera. The video refused to disappear. No matter how many times I removed it or deleted the whole channel, the video wouldn't disappear. The video didn't disappear, and the comment section kept overflowing with these ugly, vile assertions. Things about me, about my family, and everyone I had ever cared for. To think that there were people out there, hundreds, thousands of people, that were willing to comment such atrocious thoughts to public discourse made me lose all faith in human decency. What worries me more, what makes my fingers quiver even as I write these words, was the top-rated comment on the wedding video. 6,000 likes and climbing. Rabid Crow 69. Great content. Subbed. Can't wait for the next upload. Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I want to tell you thanks so much for watching tonight's video or listening to tonight's episode of the podcast. Quick reminder, I am also a narrator over at Chilling. If you guys like the stories that you're listening to here, then I'm sure you'll like the stories that you can listen to over at Chilling, because they're almost the same thing. I'm still narrating them, but you can select your own background music or background sounds, and you can select a whole mess of other narrators, such as Autumn Ivy, Swamp Dweller, and a bunch of my other friends. If you guys are interested in checking out Chilling app, starting up with a free trial, you can use the link in the description down below, or you can head over to thechillingapp.com and also use those free trials to win prizes from their giveaways. And as always, I would love to give a big thank you to everyone who's supporting me over on Patreon. You guys are the real MVPs. You guys keep things going, especially while things have been nuts for me over the past couple of months, and things have been getting crazier and crazier as time goes on. You guys are the ones who are keeping me sane, and I mean that with all sincerity, that you guys have helped me immensely. So, in my personal life and my professional life, I want to give a very big thank you to Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Jakob Fenske, Burnett, Kraus, LaQueda, Canizales, MrCreepyPasta, PebisPleaser, Travis, Joseph Calarrudo, BuddhaBee, Dante Kinkade, Foxhound 803, Mephistopheles, CursepoxPrimarch, Bastion Beefcake, Jeff the Killer's Cultist, Love You M, INSANITYGamerX, Jesus Cornejo, Yarghoul, Kearns, himbojerry, SamaHigh, CrusaderChocobo, Atomaurus, Captain Scurvy, Estabine, Braden Morris, Nate Cull, Our Minsect Time, Angelus, Seclude, That Creepy Chick, Red Shadow Cat, Xavier and Cheyenne, 6 Gay Rats in a Trench Coat, Turtle Man, Cryolinium, Lord Life's Best, Goring Trimagazine, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Ika Limchok, Dirt Diver 030, Matt Bach, Voice of Sand, Shelly J, Fikamel, Deleted Account, Melted Lake, Tully Sue, William King, Sashi Suzaku, Stricken, Freddy Krueger, Happy Birthday Jason Wilson, Lisa Cottrell, Caspian, Hades Nephew, Tater Chip, Acid System, Mog, Kiwi the Sloth, Fester's Lampshade, Nico Kayo, The Ginger Bros, and Stormcrow, Daniel Polson, and Corey Kenshin. To everyone on this list, everyone in the description, and of course anyone who could support even just $1, thank you all so much for making my life significantly easier with this. And if you guys would like to be able to join any of the names that you see here or down there or anything at all, head over to patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta. And with that, I wish you all a very, very pleasant night and sweet dreams.